Hello, and welcome to this webinar session. My name is Viola Goodacre, and I'll be coordinating today's webinar. Today's webinar topic is connecting to multiple systems in zTPFGI and is being presented by Shejun Dev, who's a software engineer at TSI and a member of our customer support team. Now, without further ado, I'll hand over to Shejun.
Capture it in another system from the same instance of GI. And in a loosely coupled system, if a transaction goes into one CPU and response comes back from another CPU, user will be able to capture it from a single instance of GI. With this new feature, the first stage of this new feature will be a part of this 1.3.9.0 release, which can be used to combine two different combinations of systems. So one will be a loosely coupled system, and another will be a same platform systems. So while combining two different systems of a loosely coupled system together, one of the system will be act as a primary system, and another will be act as a secondary system. The primary system, user will be able to do all types of transactions, such as tracing, such as macro trace, source view trace. User will be able to load programs, and user also will be able to selectively load the programs and get into trace. And in the secondary system, user will be only able to do a async transaction. So for async transaction in loosely coupled system, we'll have it in both systems. If two systems are combined from a same platform, there will be a primary system where user will be allowed to do all types of tracing, such as macro trace, source view trace, loading programs, load set view, etc. And the secondary system, user will be only allowed to do a macro trace. But the async transaction is set to open, and it will be across the primary and the secondary system. To use this option, user needs to click on the connect button at the top. On the available systems of list, user will be able to see MSYSN, which is multiple system 1 and multiple system 2. These are the two types of systems which I have configured for this particular webinar. One will be of a loosely coupled system, and another one will be of a same platform. So for a loosely coupled system, as I said earlier, we'll be having a primary system, which is VP5 in this case, and the VP7 will be a secondary system. To connect to both of the systems, the user needs to choose the option My SY1S2 and click on OK. Once we get connected to the system, if both the systems are available, we'll get the output box. We'll see the output box, and we'll have an output window where it says connected to multiple systems. As I said, in a loosely coupled system, one of the system will be a primary resource where user will be able to do all types of transactions. And on the secondary system, user will be only able to do an asynchronous transaction. So if you could click on the active resource button, user will be able to see a ALC1 terminal, which is associated with the primary system, since user will be only allowed to do all types of tracing in a primary system. So in this case, the primary system will be VP zTPF5. And another feature which we have added over here is in the ALC terminal screen, we'll be having the system name appended near the terminal. So it will help us to find which terminal is associated with the system. And on the other hand, all the asynchronous options, which is listed in the asynchronous resource, will have two newly loaded options. As you could see, I have clicked on the PGR asynchronous resource, which have two checkboxes, which is one is for the system primary system, and another one is for the secondary system. Like this, we'll have across all the asynchronous options, we'll have this checkboxes enabled so that user can set the trap in both the systems. So for the demo, I'm going to trap a asynchronous transaction, which is being routed to the secondary system, which is VP TPF7. I'm also going to enable all the transaction across the systems. So the program which I'm going to trace is TST1, and I'm checking this box VP zTPF5 and VP zTPF7. So I'm setting the trap in. As you could see, two asynchronous trap screens terminals are up, and one is pointed to the primary system VP zTPF5, and another one is pointed to the secondary system VP zTPF7. So let's try tracing the program from the secondary system. Just give me a minute. So now I'm connected to an external terminal. So now I'll be sending the transaction from the secondary system, that is VP zTPF7. I have enabled the trap in both the systems. So now I'll be sending across the transaction. So as you could see, the asynchronous ECB is stopped in the secondary system, which is VP zTPF7. From this, user can continue the macro trace, or user can exit the ECB. So now I'll try tracing using the macro trace. I have enabled the macro trace with all programs and all macros. So I'm doing F10 now. As you could see, I'm able to trace the program using a macro trace. Similarly, user will be also able to trace a synchronous transaction on the primary system as well. So let me try to send across the asynchronous transaction from the primary system, which is VP zTPF5. So as you could see, I have entered the transaction from the external terminal in VP zTPF5 system, and it's been captured inside GI from the same instance. So I can continue the trace, macro trace, or I can exit the ECB. On the other hand, we also have another option where we can use this option to combine two systems from the same platform. So as you could see, I have another set of systems which has been combined, and they all are from the same platform, the VP4 and the VP2. In the system, the VP4 will be the primary and the VP2 will be the secondary. These are the configurations which will be which the technical person or the systems engineer support from TSI will be able to do. For a user to add this configuration, a user needs to send across a mail, or they can request the system engineers to do so. So now I'm trying to say about how it works in the same platform for a different system. I'm connecting to the multi-system option of same platform. If it's of a same platform, if two systems are combined and it's been connected, we'll have two ALC terminals, one for the primary system and the ALC5, which is for the secondary system. In this setup, we have the VP zTPF4 as the primary, and in the second one, VP zTPF is the secondary. So user will be able to do a normal trace as well using this particular ALC terminal in the primary. As you could see, in the primary system, I will be able to do all types of transactions. And now I'm doing a selective load source view trace. But on the secondary system, if it's of the same platform, two systems, we'll be able to do a macro trace. The ALC5 is associated with the secondary system, which is VP zTPF2. I'll be able to do a macro trace, but we won't be able to do a selective load source trace. So as you could see, I've sent across a transaction from the secondary system, from the ALC5 terminal, which is associated with the secondary system, and I'm able to continue with the trace. On the other hand, in this same platform combined system, the asynchronous resource will be enabled. I mean, the async transaction will be enabled across the systems. So if you could see, when I click on one of the program async trace capture option, I could see both the checkboxes which we have for the primary and the secondary systems. If user wants to capture any of the async transaction to any of the system, user can check this box and click on OK. Let me try to set up a transaction from the secondary system. So as you could see, the asynchronous ECB is stopped and it's been captured inside the GI. User will be able to continue the trace using a macro trace since it's a secondary system. Or user can exit the trace. On the other hand, there were a request if we can combine two different platform systems. For the first release, for the first stage of the release, we'll only be having two type of systems. One is a couple system, and other one will be of the same platform. And the other platform which can be combined and which will be in the upcoming releases. And at the same time, for different systems to be configured, there will be a maximum of 5 systems which can be configured. And to use this, user needs to ask the system personnel, system engineer from your support team. So that's all for the webinar I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Shijun. I'm now going to open it up for any questions. So if there are any questions, please click the hand symbol or type in the chat window. So I can see that Tim has a question. I will just unmute you so that you can ask your question.
Good morning. I didn't understand what you mean by the same platform, or I forget how you worded it. Same platform. What do you mean by same platform if they're not loosely coupled? Hello?
Yes. So the same platform, I mean, for different customers, we have different platforms, right? So if it's for the same platform, we have some systems which is in Sabre, we'll have its PSS and PNP. For different customers, we'll have different platforms, right? So if the systems are of same platform, we'll be able to combine together. But if it's from a different platform, say if there is a PSS platform and the PNP platform, we won't be able to combine together in this particular feature at this stage.
Okay, I don't know what PSS and PNP mean, but so are we talking about zTPF systems purely?
Yes.
Okay, so for example, Delta uses 3 different zTPF systems. Are you saying system A can be talk to system B? To me, system A and system B are not even the same platform at all.
This is Jeff. If you're talking about Delta, you have 3 platforms. I'm sorry, OSS, RES, and Air4.
Right.
Those are the platforms. So when you choose a platform, and if you connect to one of those, all the systems there could be combined within one platform. But if you wanted to test an OSS and RES and be on one system of OSS and then also a different system that's on RES at the same time, this current release at this point anyway, we're working on it, doesn't support that.
Is that the same platform system concept that was mentioned? Like you said, this works for loosely coupled now. With this
loosely coupled is always on the same platform. You have 2 CPUs that are really both are RES, both are OSS, whatever. So yes, loosely coupled would work.
Okay, and the part about using, I don't remember the phrasing, the same platform system that's not yet working in this release?
It would be in the case of if you had an OSS system and it's sending a message to RES. I don't even know if that's possible, but if that is possible, in this release you couldn't look at both of them in one instance of zTPFGI.
You're saying in this release you cannot yet do that?
Right, within one instance of zTPFGI. If one system belongs to RES and one system belongs to OSS, at this point, what we have coded up to this point would not add any new feature for that. It adds the loosely coupled, and it adds if the 2 systems are the same type of systems, meaning both are RES, both are OSS. For other customers, they have other platforms.
Okay, so is that what the same platform concept means? Putting RES and OSS together, for example?
Those would be considered 2 platforms, and at this point we cannot put those 2 systems together because they're separate platforms. That's what that means. I'm sorry, I don't think I'm answering your question.
I'm not understanding. So I've understand the loosely coupled concept.
Yeah.
That you can, this new release handles a loosely coupled environment.
Right.
Does it also handle what was called same platform systems environment?
Yes.
Okay, and I guess I'm not understanding what same platform systems means.
It would mean that if you were platform in zTPFGI is that little drop down that says RES, OSS, or whatever companies have. And systems are assigned to a platform. It's assigned, like in Delta, it'd be assigned to a RES or an OSS type system, right?
Right.
So with this new feature at this point, you could not request and say, hey, I want this specific system that's a RES system and this specific system that's an OSS system and do this new feature.
Okay.
At this point, you could not request that, and it's not possible yet. We're working on it.
So are you saying, though, you offer, I can have res lab number 123 talk to res lab number 456, even though they're not even loosely coupled?
Yes. Yes. You can zTPFGI could be talking to both of those if you had a need to. Yes.
Okay. Okay. That is what you are rolling out.
Yes.
Along with the loosely coupled plus the same platform concept.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Are there any other questions? I can't see any more raised hands at this point, but I'll just give you a minute or so in case there's another question. Okay, if there are no more questions, we can bring this to a close. We have these webinars once a month, so please come back and watch and listen to more of these webinars. And thank you very much for joining this session. Bye.